Hi guys, it's Abby here again, and I'm just going to expand a little bit more on the Kapha dosha. So the last video I talked about how Kapha shows up at different stages through our life and through our day and through the year. But I just want to give you a few more tips about how you can keep Kapha balanced. So if you find that you're getting some of those symptoms that we talked about, feeling heavy and tired and lethargic, excess mucus, excess weight gain, fluid retention, then we could probably use some of these tips to address some of those issues as well and adjust your diet and lifestyle accordingly. So we touched on yogurt being a food that is really heavy in Kapha, and I don't know about you, but if you eat some yogurt, chances are you sort of straight away get a little bit of phlegm or excess mucus, and that's how fast we can see these changes happen within our body. So just be mindful of not to eat too much of that cold, heavy, dense food that's sort of sticky and slimy, because that will aggravate you. You want to stick to things that are very light and fresh and energizing, warming on the body. So warm foods are great. We can have less meat because that's really heavy. If you're going to have meat, maybe white meat or chicken is good. Also lots of light leafy greens full of nutrition, but also very light on the digestive system as well. And your digestive spices are so important for Kapha. So this is where we want to have things like ginger, black pepper, mustard seeds, we can use, and cumin, and we can use all of those in our foods. Lots of spices for Kapha, they do really well. Generally avoiding too many sweeteners and too many oils, but one thing that Kapha really does well on is honey. Honey is really pacifying and really has a scraping action to help clear mucus and things like that within the body. So honey is great for Kapha as a sweetener, but honey is really important that we have it raw and not heated. So Ayurveda actually says that the healing properties of honey are actually destroyed when you heat it. So don't cook with honey, and I even avoid putting it in hot water. I know lots of people recommend that. Room temperature water or something like that could be stirred through, but I wouldn't put it in a hot tea and certainly not cook with it. But honey is the one sweetener that is great to balance Kapha if you do have a bit of a sweet tooth. And you want to, have some sweetness in your food, so honey is great. Otherwise, keeping everything really light and fresh. Kapha is the dosha that generally needs less food as well. So less food and less sleep, because we want to keep more activity and we don't want to weigh ourselves down too much. So we always still want to have our largest meal in the middle of the day, but Kapha might be fine. They're the sort of constitution that maybe 2 meals a day is perfect, or 3. But if you're having 3, just make sure that the evening meal is quite light and the breakfast is quite light. But some people choose to skip breakfast and just have, an earlier, larger lunch and then a very light soup or vegetarian meal for dinner. And that's perfectly enough for them. So just be mindful. We can, as a Kapha, we can crave that sweetness. But it's really important just to tune into your appetite, and are you really hungry? And if you're not really hungry, then probably avoid having some food. And you can also increase that appetite by using more digestive spices. Things like trichidoo is a really nice spice which helps to build that fire within our system, and we can have something like that just before we eat, which really helps to get the digestive juices flowing, and then when we eat our meal, our digestion is more complete and we don't feel as heavy after the meal. So eating less for Kapha, 2 to 3 meals a day, largest meal in the middle of the day, and try and keep the evening and breakfast quite light. You might have some stewed fruit or something like that for breakfast if you're going to have breakfast, and just a very light vegetarian soup would be ideal for dinner, and then having your protein and your good healthy fats and your veggies and that sort of thing at lunchtime. Now, as I just touched on as well, Kapha generally needs least amount of sleep, so gradually adjust back. If you're having a lot of sleep at the moment, you might not want to cut it back dramatically all in one instance, but some people do really well on 5-6 hours sleep if they've got a Kapha dominant constitution. So you might, the best way to achieve that is to stay up a little bit later, 11:30 some people, and then get up nice and early as well once you've had that rest, and you'll feel more energized in the morning and ready to start your day. The other thing that can leave people feeling a little bit heavy in the morning is if they eat the meal too large at night time or eat too late into the evening. So you always want to have a good 4 hours after the meal before going to bed. But because we need that fire to digest, it's always recommended to try to eat your evening meal while the sun's still up in the sky. We don't want to be having that too late. So if you can get an early dinner, 5-6 o'clock, then that would be ideal as well. Earlier the better. Just to give that digestive system a little fast or a little break so it can do its detoxifying processes overnight. So that's a little bit about food and sleep. If we're looking at our daily routine, some of the most helpful things we can do is some dry body brushing. So we talk a lot in Ayurveda about doing an oil massage or an Abhyanga treatment before your shower. And because oils are very heavy and grounding, we probably don't want to overdo that at this point. And instead, we can do some dry body brushing where we just use a brush on the body and do quick, vigorous movements towards the heart. Really stimulates the lymphatic system, gets the fluids moving, helps with fluid retention, cellulite. So that's a really nice option to do, particularly say in the springtime when Kapha is dominating. You might not do it all year round, but it's a really nice change to make to your routine during the springtime. So that's the dry body brushing, which is really great. But otherwise, just moving your body and being active and keeping nice and warm through your exercise and through the foods that you're eating and the spices and that as well. I also like to incorporate a lot of essential oils into my day-to-day life. So just like the foods that we eat or the medicines and herbs that we choose, each essential oil might have different properties. So anything that's really uplifting and stimulating, you can incorporate those oils into your diffuser or apply them to the body with your dry body brushing and use them in lots of different ways. I find even with Kapha, sometimes there's a heaviness in the mind or in the mood as well. So using some essential oils just to really wake up the senses, something like peppermint or something like that, lemon, orange, they really sort of add that burst of excitement and alertness to your day. So they're great to diffuse and use regularly through the day. And then obviously you've got some herbs that you can use to support and treatment. So if you're looking at herbal treatments, things like udvatanam, which is like a herbal powder massage, which is fantastic for stimulating the body, increasing that heat and get rid of any fluid retention as well. Trickadoo is a nice formulation to help boost the metabolism and boost the digestion as well, which is some digestive spices. There's some other great herbs for fluid retention that might be helpful. Triphala is a really nice one for getting rid of excess mucus and doing a nice cleansing of the digestive tract and help to regulate the bowel movements. So there's lots of really nice balancing herbs and things that you can incorporate to balance the Kapha as well. So I hope that give you some insights into what you can do on a practical level to balance the Kapha in your system. And join me for the next video where we go and talk about the Pitta dosha. I'll see you soon. Bye.